What's going on, you guys? How you doing today? Blessings. Hope everything's well. Let's give it a couple of minutes. We'll get into this. Give it a couple of minutes. Just grabbing a coffee real quick and jump into a couple of things. Chronology, the deception of it. They've lied to us. Multiple other things. Alrighty, give me 1 minute. Okay. Hey, what's going on, Dubs? How you doing, man? All's well, brother. Oh, nice, man. What's going on, Will? How you doing, man? Doing all right? Wanted to talk about a couple of things as it is. Yeah, seen the invite. Yeah, man, it's crazy what's going on at the end of the day. You see, guys, the truth is that I've been studying the Bible for quite some time, and if you believe in the 66 books and the chronology that they gave us, and you believe everything that they told us, you have to become a preterist. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. You have to believe that Jesus returned in 70 AD. But if you don't believe that, and you don't believe in the chronology that they gave us, and you don't believe in the things that they have actually told us, then the truth is that it happened in a completely different region, in a completely different time frame. And when you start to realize this, you start to understand why our brothers and sisters in the Spanish Inquisition went through what they did, where it was that all this did end up taking place. Spain, Italy, France, over there in Europe. And I'm not trying to pull a race card or anything. I'm trying to tell you the way it is. If I had my way, at the end of the day, I would keep it where they were at, but the truth doesn't allow me to do that. I have to say where it actually happened, where the Iberian Peninsula is, where Kabbalah was formed, where the first Talmud was published in Venice, Italy, where the Phoenicians, are better known as the Venetians, actually lived and were. It's mind-blowing. It really is. All of it. All of it is so mind-blowing. What's going on, Stefan? What's going on, Pink? How you doing? So, when we begin to look at this, what's up, Dwayne? How you doing, brother? I got brothers and sisters in the preterist community, and I love them. I do. But the truth is that I can't allow myself to teach 70 AD anymore because I don't believe in the chronology that we've been given. I believe in a copycat of history. Our chronology was given to us by Josephus Justus Scaliger. His father's name was Julius Caesar Scaliger. What's the chances of that? Then the guy that worked in, like, as a companion with Josephus Justus Scaliger was Dionysius Petavius. And what this goes to show is that Dionysius Petavius was actually he was a Jesuit, all right? They lied about our chronology. They lied about our time. In the book of Daniel, it actually says that there's going to come someone, he's going to teach against the Most High, and he's actually going to change the times and the laws. This is the only way to get around everything. This is the only way to really start to understand things. If you, like I said at the beginning of this live, if you believe in the 66 books of the Bible, and you believe in the chronology in which we've been given, you have to believe that Jesus returned in 70 AD. But the thing is this, if you believe in a different chronology, and you start to realize that the time spectrum in which we live in is false, then you cannot accept preterism anymore. All right? I'm going to tell you why. Because 70 AD never happened. You see, according to the biblical narrative, all right? Well, Dwayne, the problem is with even everything being fulfilled, it's actually more like we're living in it right now, because the Jesuits and the Renaissance period is the age of fraud. All right. So what ends up happening is, when we look at this, 70 AD doesn't work anymore. Okay. 70 AD doesn't work anymore. 70 AD just doesn't cut it anymore. And this is a problem, because it was in 78, 79 AD that Pompeii supposedly erupted, right? But we have relics back from the 1600s that shows that Pompeii was destroyed in 1631, all right? So something else is going on here, all right? That's all I'm saying. I've been doing some digging into like the historical figures, as it is. And the Second Roman Empire mirrors the Third Roman Empire. The ancient Roman Empire, who started with Lucius Sulla, actually mirrors the Third Roman Empire, which actually started with Lucius Aurelian. Next thing that happens is there's a strife in that empire. Thing after that, there's a strife. There's a lot of copycatting over this history. Either history repeats itself, or they lied to us, and they told us that these things happened way, way back when, but in actuality, there's a difference. You see, even it says that Jesus was crucified in a public place. All right. Mount Moriah was not a public place. It was actually outside of the city of Jerusalem. But even though Golgotha, where Jesus was crucified, outside of that public place, this still would not fit the narrative according to the biblical scriptures. Matter of fact, there's a place in France called Golgotha Street. And Golgotha Street is in a public place, all right? You actually have paintings and art of figures that are foreshadows of Jesus, like Hercules, Dionysus, Isus of the Celts. And what you can see is, like, in one painting, Hercules or Heracles was actually holding a cross going into the city of Jerusalem. All right. You just got multiple things going on. All right. As it is. You got multiple things going on as it is. A Bible without history is like an unloaded gun. All right. It's an unloaded gun at the end of the day. All right. Exactly. They told us it happened 2,000 years ago, but it didn't happen as long as what we think. All right? Yep, exactly. During a Saturn-Jupiter junction. Eon, I'm going to tell you something. All right? I'm going to tell you something, my friend. The book of Revelation is completely an astrological book. 4 horses, when it talks about how he who overcomes, I will give him the morning star. The morning star is known as Venus. Okay? In the legends of the Greeks, actually Venus is the one that fell through the apple of discord. What happens is it's the redemption of Venus. Okay? Venus is Sophia. Sophia is wisdom. Sophia is the Holy Spirit. All right? What happens is there was actually a junction that occurred on one day out of all of history. First off, the book of Revelation. Let's go ahead and look at this. All right. The book of Revelation, the 4 horses. You got the white horse, a man with a bow. This is Sagittarius. It says he's going to conquer and to conquer. This is Sagittarius. This is Jupiter, the planet Jupiter, aligning itself within the horoscope of Sagittarius. All right. Then you have a red horse, and the red horse is holding a sword, all right? Well, the war horse, or the war planet, is known as Mars. Mars actually aligned itself with the constellation Perseus. Perseus is the only constellation is of a man holding a sword, all right? And within this, then you have the black horse. The black horse is commerce and trade. It's a plague, it's a famine through commerce and trade. This is the black horse of Revelation chapter 6. What happens is, actually Mercury, which is the planet of commerce and trade, aligned itself within the horoscope of Libra. Finally, you got the pale horse. The pale horse is the horse of death. It has a sickle in its hand, and what ends up happening? This is Saturn aligning itself with the horoscope of Scorpio, all right? Did this ever happen? Did these 4 planets align themselves in these horoscopes? Did Jupiter align itself in Sagittarius? Did Mars align itself within Perseus? Did Mercury align itself within Libra? And did Saturn align itself within Scorpio, the constellation or the horoscope of death? Absolutely. But what else happened? Revelation chapter 12 tells us John looked up in the sky and he saw a woman adorned with the sun, with the moon at her feet, with 12 stars around her head. Did this happen? Yes, it did. 4 horoscopes, 4 planets, 4 horsemen align themselves in the sky. What happens? As well as this, Virgo had the 12 stars upon her head. But guess what? This only happened one day ever in history. October 1st, 1486. October 1st, 1486, this ended up occurring. Now, what ends up happening when we look at, for instance, the rest of the book of Revelation? We see a man on a throne with the 7 eyes of the Lamb around the throne. This is the constellation Cassiopeia. Cassiopeia looks like a man crucified on a cross and has 7 stars around it, okay? Coming out from the Milky Way. All these things align themselves October 1st, 1486, okay? What happens is, yeah, Eon, it's amazing. The Bible is the holy grail to it all, but I believe the Quran is very important to all this as well. So what ends up happening is these constellations align themselves October 1st, 1486. Yeah, the Milky Way has the Ophiuchus. Yep, 13th. The 13th zodiac or sign. So October 1st, 1486, all of the constellations align with the 4 horsemen, with the sun and the moon and the 12 stars upon the head of these things that are going on. What happened 7 years from here? In the medieval ages, when they saw these alignments, by the way, I have a friend named Dreamstar Oracle, Ashley. She actually looked into it, and she's seen that. And she was like, I can't believe it. She went back to some constellation software. She looked at the very events on October 1st, 1486. It's the only time it ever occurred within history. According to the Byzantine Empire, They believed that 7 years from then, 6 to 7 years from then, they would end up at the 7,000th year from Adam. So around 1492, 93, they believed that they were entering the 7,000th year of Adam. Okay? What happened 6 to 7 years from then? Christopher Columbus, a Sephardic Jew, travels over the unknown seas to the land called America. Discovers the New World. The New World is said to be by Sir Francis Bacon, who is known as Shakespeare as the New Atlantis. You cannot tell me that doesn't have a correlation within the events. A new world started, because guess what? The book of Revelation was written around the same time as the first 11 chapters of the book of Genesis, and much else. All right? So, what ends up happening, now that we can understand this, that the book of Revelation is a book about astrology, we can understand that planets were actually known as horses. On coins in the medieval ages, planets were known as horses. They were horses, and they would carry the planets across the constellation into the horoscope. There's much more at play here. Even the horoscopes that are used within Revelation could only align within one day. And it wasn't back in 70 AD, because 70 AD is a lie. It's a deception. Paul of Tarsus is Josephus. Paul of Tarsus, the guy that wrote the 13 letters to the early church, is actually Josephus. They were both half Roman, half Jewish. They both lived in Tarsus. They both have league with the people in Rome. They both came from the kinsmen of the Herodians. Romans chapter 16. Okay? So what ends up happening is they create a fake history. They fake a complete history that is surrounded by a false manipulation of time. Remember, in Daniel chapter 7, verse 25, it says that the man of sin, or this man that's going to set himself up like the Most High, he's going to change the times and the laws. This is the Gregorian calendar. This is the Julian calendar. They changed the times and the laws. Jesus did not live 2,000 years ago. Jesus lived probably around mid-1200s, or the mid-12th century, sorry. So it would be about 1150 to 1200, okay? So what ends up happening is, if constellations are real and the alignment of horoscopes are true, then what ends up occurring here? What we begin to see is there's something else at play here. If you go back to 60 to 70 AD, even 33 or 4 BC AD, there's no star of Bethlehem that ends up occurring, and 33 years later, a solar eclipse. But guess what? There was one in the 12th century. 1152 AD, actually, what happens in the fall time, there is something called, basically, there was this star that aligned itself with the Crab Nebula constellation. We can look at this going back on constellation software. It aligned itself with the Crab Nebula constellation. There's actually medieval drawings of this. You have pictures of these wise men going to Jesus, all right, while he's in his crib, and there's a comet and a star up above within a certain constellation. What happens 33 years later from this point? 33 years later, from 1152 AD, 1185 AD, a man is crucified, and there's a solar eclipse. Just like the biblical narrative says, but not in the time frame that we've been told. All right? He was real. You're just looking in the wrong time place. You're looking in the wrong chronology. We have to realize that the chronology in which we live in is a lie. It's a hoax. It's a deception. If they can fake Zionism, if they can fake a little Middle Eastern country over there that was built May 14th, 1948 by the hands of the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and the Khazarians, then what else can they fake? They can fake all of history. They can make you think that these things happened when in actuality the writings of Josephus, Tacitus, Suetonius, and Lucius Cassius Dio all have the writing style of a medieval forgery. Yeah. The plot thickens. You got it. Absolutely. I'm in the process right now of rewriting I'm in the process of something big right now. Let's put it that way. All right? I'm in the process of something very, very big right now of what I'm doing with the Bible, with the scriptures, stuff. The truth is, what's going on, Patrina? Hope you're well. Yeah, Eon. So this is the second or third time I was in the process of writing a book with the Melchizedek order, the Levitical priesthood. I put all of the archaeology down from the Merneptah Stela to the Mesha Stela, all these things that tie it back to the Canaanites and everything. But what happens when our chronology is off? Everything is off. This doesn't change the fact that the Melchizedek order and the Levitical priesthood are still here within the story of what's going on. All right? But what ends up happening is it shifts the entire time period. How many of you guys out there have been fascinated with the medieval ages? How many of you actually believe that you lived during that period of time? How many of you actually have believed that you might have been a part of the Knights Templar or the Cathars or something of this nature? Because I'm going to tell you this much. I sure do believe I was. All right? I've always had a fascination with Cathars, with this period of time. I could never wrap my mind around it as it is, but there's a reason why they call it the Dark Ages. They don't want you to look in it, all right? They don't want you to look at the Dark Ages. They don't want you to look at the story of King Arthur and the 12 Knights of the Round Table, which is, the Round Table is the astrological wheel, all right? So, what's going on, Missy? Hope you're doing well. Really big, exciting things ahead. Yes, absolutely. We got some amazing stuff to get into, you guys. I mean, even down to the kings of Israel and the kings of Judah actually being a copycat of the history of the 10th to 13th century of the Holy Roman Empire and basically taking on the characters of these names. All right? Amazing stuff. 2020, the eclipse in the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction happened. You can definitely see that something is going on here within our time frame. There's a shift within consciousness. There's a shift within understanding. But there's also people that still are caught under the God spell, which is also the gospel. All right? Look at all the names Josephus used in his writings. Another thing we can look at with the writings of these so-called men that lived in the first century, even the names that they use are medieval names. All right? Yep, the Hyksos, the shepherd kings. By the way, shepherds and sheep don't exist within the Middle East. This is something that's over there in Italy, Spain, Europe. All right? There's breeds of sheep over there. Okay? There's a lot more to this, but that video got banned about CV19. That had over 1 million views on it. That video is blowing up. But that was like 3 years ago, too. The Holy Gospel. Say it's the God spell at the end of the day. I believe that if you don't do what you're supposed to do here on planet Earth, you reincarnate back to this earth. And who else believed that? The Cathars. The Cathars, okay? It's the ghost spell, all right? I believe that you have to, you see, when we look at all this and we bring it all together, if the Cathars and the Muslims were the ones that were being persecuted by the Roman Catholic Church in the medieval ages, there's something about the Muslims that we're not realizing. There's something that made them stand out. Now, does that mean I don't think that things have been corrupted today within their understanding? Yeah, I think things have been corrupted. But I also believe that the figures of Jesus, Moses, Abraham, and even Muhammad, they all lived within the same period of time. And the only way this works is when the chronology is aligned properly. Okay? I've always believed in reincarnation. I believed in reincarnation for past 2 to 3 years now, as it is. All right? Some come back after they've already won the game. All right? I think a lot of us have won the game. All right? I think we won the game. I think we actually got out of here. We decided to come back here to help more people. All right? That's what I believe. You see, I'll just get personal with you guys for a second. My parents told me, and like, this is when I was a religious Pentecostal. My parents always told me that when I was in my crib, about when I was 5 days old, I was humming music that almost sounded like it came from the heavens. And I've never let that leave me. And now that I understand more about, like, reincarnation, the biblical narrative, different things that are going on, I do believe I was reincarnated. I do believe that I decided to come back here as it is. I'm not saying I have everything right. I would never say that. Like, don't follow me. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to tell you is this. We're piecing this together more and more, and I think we're really onto something here with the medieval ages. All right? I believe that we are onto something here within the dark age of time, okay? That we're starting to gain a new type of revelation and thinking on this. Because about 2 months ago, I was sitting at my table where I do my studies, and I was like, if the time has been shifted, then that means the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, they all lived in the medieval ages. All right? They all lived during the medieval ages. And lo and behold, I found figures that lived during the medieval ages with these exact names. I found a man named Abraham ben David, who was also known as Abraham of Genesis, who had a son named Isaac the blind. What's funny about that? In the book of Genesis, Isaac was blind. Isaac has a star pupil, or someone he knows as his son, called Israel, or Azrael. There's a man named Moses in the story. There's a man named Muhammad. There's a man named Joshua. These figures existed in that period. Isaac the blind created Kabbalah. You got it, yep. And here's something that's very interesting. Before Kabbalah was actually infiltrated, Kabbalah was actually something that the Jews, the Muslims, and the Cathars all practiced together before the Roman Catholic Church inverted the truth and before the persecution started. This is real. They don't want you to look in the Middle Ages. They don't want you to look in this time period. In actual reality, I've studied Kabbalah. I have 23 volumes of the Zohar sitting up on my table right now. And I've done probably about 500 hours worth of study on Kabbalah. If you look at the Sephirotic structure, all right, the top structure is known as Keter. Keter is actually spelled without vowels. The whole system was without vowels. It was only consonants. When you look at the word Keter, Keter, it's actually KTR. And what is it talking about? It's talking about Qatar or Cathar. It's talking about the Cathars. It's talking about the real inventors of Kabbalah. By the way, Abraham ben David had someone that backed him from the Occitan family that actually got him out of prison that was a Cathar. All right? He was known as a Cathar. Abraham ben David studied with the Cathars. Moses, from the Frankish Levite nobility, was with the Roman Catholic Church. Now you begin to realize and understand what the Roman holy wars were actually about, what those holy wars in the Promised Land are about. The book of Exodus, the Torah, what is going on here? This is the Inquisitions. These are the wars that are happening. You know, when I started stumbling upon this stuff and I started realizing it, I started thinking that I don't know how the heck I'm going to tell people this. Because I don't want to be unalived. I don't want to be missing one day or whatever the case may be. But guys, if you really are serious about your studies, Nostradamus is also from southern France. Nostradamus is very important too to all this. I've studied Nostradamus. God, man, what is he? What is his name? Nostradamus. I think it's like he breathes into Adam or something. It means like he breathes into Adam. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to be missing Mr. Super Cool. I know we got our differences on stuff, man, but I think this is just the process. We got to get through all of it. All right. But yeah, Nostradamus was an important figure too. He was known as a witch or an astrologer. By the way, King Saul comes from the Basque region. If you look in 1 Samuel chapter 28, when he goes to the witch of Andor, this is actually a place near the Basque region called Andorra. All right. If you guys really want to study this and you guys are really serious about this and you really want to see how the timeline is shifted and everything, go study the works of Anatoly Fomenko. All right. The works of Anatoly Fomenko. Look at how there was a shift within the languages. This is the Tower of Babel event, by the way. And go look at a YouTube channel called Tom Carberry. All right. Someone told me about that channel on YouTube a couple of weeks ago. And I'm glad I really went to go look it up. Because Tom Carberry, he started putting stuff out about 7-8 years ago on YouTube. And I'm going to tell you this much. Through all my studies within the biblical narrative, memorizing 500 verses, understanding things up, down, left, and right, this man, he's really onto something. Okay? So, first, you don't believe in hell. This is hell. All right? I believe this is hell. You got to remember, Satan is the god of this world. Bible says that the prince of this world will be judged. All right? He's already judged. All right? Yeah, Son of Ab was right. Egypt is America. All right? We've been lied to. Okay? I've been doing some studying on that. You have places like Cairo, Thebes, the Delphi. You have the Mississippi River, which has the 5 channels, which is talked about in the biblical narrative of the Bible with the Nile. That Middle Eastern country over there, that's all deception. It's a lie. Think about CNN. What CNN does, they want you to focus on something that they put on the TV, but they're taking your focus off of something bigger. All right? So. They're taking your focus off the real truth. That's what it comes down to. All right? We burn eternally until we come into union with Christ. Yeah, I would say so. Even the Quran says this. You know that? All right. The Quran even says this. that when you die, you put on a new flesh. All right? The Bible tells you this as well. Job 33. Okay? These things are real. Reincarnation is real. This really happens. Some people choose to leave and get out of this dimension. Some people choose to come back. All right? What is heaven? Wyoming Joe, you talk about heaven like it's some place out there in the atmosphere and everything. What is heaven? Right? Because you can have heaven here now on earth. Clean the inside of the cup so that the outside may be cleaned. This is the esoteric revelation. This is what the Cathars, the Muslims, and the Jews all studied together. All right? My friends, I'll tell you what. What's going on, Olivia? How you doing? How is heaven a physical place when it says flesh and blood can't inherit the kingdom of God? How is heaven a physical place when it tells you that the kingdom is within? How is heaven a physical place when it says you're going to worship God in spirit and in truth? All right. It's a new, yes, but it's a spiritual place. It's not like we're going to take our flesh with us. I believe that there is a dimension where there's amazing things going on. Do I think it's the revelation in what we think in the physical carnal world that it is? No, absolutely not. But do I believe in a place that there's an afterlife? Absolutely. Okay. So what ends up happening here is you can connect with heaven now. All right. Thank you, Ian. I appreciate that. All right. Jesus tells us he is going to prepare a place for us, a physical place. In my house are many mansions. In my Father's house are many mansions. What do you think those mansions are? The house is the temple. You are the temple. You are that. How you begin to realize that and look at it. It is a real place. I'm not denying that, but it's not physical. All right. I believe there's many dimensions. Absolutely. All right. The zodiac houses. I don't think you have a choice to come back. You automatically come back depending on your works. I think you do come back. You can come back because you want to help people, because you love them, and because you want to help them proceed and move forward. You see, Derek Bros, all right? People will sit there and say that he's a terrible man. Oh, yeah. You guys don't know the half about Derek Bros. Some of you guys that just criticize people. You don't know the half about people. You don't know what they've been through. You don't know what their life was like. You don't know what happened to them. Okay? So that's why we don't have any room to judge anyone on the face of this planet. You don't know what that person has been through. You don't know what they went through in their life, what they are going through in their life. You have no reason to judge anyone. I don't care if that person is religious. I don't care if that person is a dogmatic Pentecostal or Baptist preacher that believes in something that is so strict and so orthodox to the faith that they're not even willing to look outside of the box. You have no reason to judge that person. Okay? You have they will come to their understanding in due time. But guess what? They might have to come back here a couple of times as well. All right? Anyways, Derek told me, what Derek basically said to me is when we look at this world in which we live in is dualistic in nature. It's made up of binary codes of zeros and ones. In order to exist in this world, you need the zeros and ones, okay? Yeah, I wouldn't even judge Derek Jester. I don't know about Derek Jester. I haven't talked to the guy in a while. Hopefully he's able to humble himself to come to a new realization of something, okay? So what ends up happening is this world in which we live in is made up of a binary system of zeros and ones. The zeros cannot exist without the ones, and the ones cannot exist without the zeros. In other words, the zeros which are the falsehoods, and the ones which are the truths. The darkness and the light cannot exist one without the other. So when the light increases, the darkness will increase. When the darkness decreases, the light will decrease. There always have to be a balance between the two systems because we live in a dualistic natured, call it a simulation if you want, all right? So what ends up happening is there always has to be an equal balance between the two. It's not until we get out of this dimension and move into a new dimension will there be no more duality. But the world in which we live in has duality, and the world in which we live in is ran by the God Yahweh, all right? Call this a spiritual being if you want. Call this the Black Pope, okay? Call this whoever you want. It's the guy who's behind the scenes pulling all the strings, all right? So what ends up happening is we have an altered history. We have a history that was given to us by Jesuits. We got real people in this world that are trying to seek real truth, like Muslims, for instance. And there are Christians out there that are really trying to seek for truth. They may get stuck in the pits of dispensationalism or the idea that, oh yeah, there's a 7-year tribulation coming, but first the rapture has to take place, then the 7-year tribulation. Then they get caught up on the beast and all this other stuff. But we have to move past these things. We got to take all 3 books and we have to put them together. We have to take the history. We have to take the timelines. We have to put it all in a conjunctive order or a set of thinking, and then we will begin to realize the truth. But you got to peel it back like an onion, all right? Truth is like an onion. You got to peel these things back. If you don't peel these things back, you're never going to get to the truth. You're going to have to deconstruct. Don't deconstruct to the point where, oh, I'm an atheist now. Because guess what? There is a God, all right? He is real. This is a real thing. And there was something that happened before the age in which we're living in, all right? Yeah, exactly. Kind of like the eyes of your understanding being enlightened, all right? You got to read it all backwards, literally. All right. So, what this is, actually, according to the biblical narrative, go read John 4:24, Wyoming Joe, because the Bible says God is spirit, and they that worship Him in spirit and truth. All right. Woman, there's coming a day that you're not going to worship God on this mountain or that mountain. You're going to worship God in spirit and in truth. Okay? All right. So, yeah, there's quite a bit to it as it is. The 3-minute videos that I do on here don't justify all this. I'm in the process right now of creating a playlist, a new series on YouTube that's going to tie all these things together and show you how the Bible is playing out, how actually or this place where Abraham actually came from, or Abram, was actually Ireland. They were Celts. They were a part of the Druidic line, all right? This is fascinating stuff, because when you look at the bloodline of the dragons, and you look at Uther Pendragon and King Arthur and all these things that connect the dots of it all, what you begin to see is it's a completely different outlook than what we've been told, all right? It's completely different. It's a completely different setting. It's almost like looking for your glasses, and yet they're right on your face, all right? They're telling you to look over in another land, but in actual reality, you're sitting in the land, all right? You're sitting in the true land. Us in America, we're here in Egypt. This is Egypt. This is the true Egypt, all right? Those who are over in France, Italy, and Spain, where the Cathars and the Muslims were, and all these people, that's where the true promised land is. All right? That is where the land flows with milk and honey and olive oil. It sure ain't in the Middle East, I'll tell you that much. All right? All right. If anyone wants to come up here and talk, we can talk. All right? That's why the King Arthur sword was recently taken. Excalibur. You know, if you look at Excalibur in the rock or in the stone, this is also, you got to remember, a sword has a hilt. It looks like a cross. The sword looks like a cross. All right? The sword that looks like a cross that's in the stone, or Excalibur, this is the representation of the cross in the Gospels. All right? If anyone wants to come up here and talk, I'm more than happy to talk to them. Okay. Thanks, Ian. I appreciate that, man. I just had to shift my thinking a little bit. I had to shift the timeline in which we live in because carbon dating, dendrochronology, coin dating, all these things, we can't even look past the 10th century AD. Everything comes from the 10th century AD. Even the Indian culture. Indian, Hindu. The Mahabharata actually was written in Sanskrit language. They try to say that it's like from 150 BC. The truth is the Sanskrit language didn't come about in its fullness until 12th century AD. Okay? As well as this, what we have is the... you have it also as a... It's almost like a... It's almost like a parallel to the writings of Homer. Homer, who wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey. Homer, who wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey according to the classical age of the Greek Empire, was actually a code name for the Homer Saint family, the Jesuits, in the medieval ages. All right. It all comes from this period of time. All right. And Hesiod, working days. All right. May I ask, what is Egypt? Over there in that little Middle Eastern land, what they did, you see, Egypt, according to where they say it is, wasn't discovered till 1798 to 1801 by Napoleon Bonaparte. This was actually, Napoleon Bonaparte was actually a part of the, he said he was a part of the Scaliger family. De Scala. The De Scala or Scaliger family. The Scaliger family, or the man known as Josephus Justus Scaliger, created the timeline in which we live in, which is chronology, in which we live in. Okay? So all these people have roots back to a certain family that created the timeline in which we live in. Goes into the Julian and Gregorian calendar. Okay? And when we look at all this, what we see is that if they screwed the timelines up, the chronology, then everything else is messed up as well. All right? Important to understand. And once you do, it all begins to make sense. There's a message that starts to relay. Okay? There is always something. Absolutely. There's always something. Okay? If anyone wants to come up here and talk, I'd be more than happy to talk to them. A homer of barley, you got it, yes. And guess what the Jesuits were known for? All right? And Homer was actually given to the orphan children that their mothers and their fathers were actually unalived by the Jesuits. And these orphan children were given omers, all right? These measures of wheat, okay? I believe so, yes. They learned how to avoid the reincarnation trap, all right? Yeah, what's up, Tyler? You can come up here. Let me see if I can bring you up here. Can't even bring you up here, my friend. Yep. Awesome to hear, White State. I'm glad you're enjoying this. How far off would the birth of Christ be and the destruction of Israel? Well, Israel, the true Jerusalem, you see, Jerusalem was actually a hub of cities because all it meant was the city of peace, all right? And this comes from the word Salam or Islam, all right? This is why the Cathars and the Muslims work together. The Jerusalem that we know in the Middle East, it's not talking about that. This is actually talking about over there in Barcelona, okay? Barcelona, where all these events actually went down and did occur when the Muslims and the Cathars had a holy war against the Roman Catholic Church. They kicked them out, and the Roman Catholic Church fled to Italy, Rome, Italy, where they set up their own little headquarters. They're over there to this day. And this is during the Renaissance period. Renaissance period of time, Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, you have all these figures rising up, and they're starting to create fake history. The Bibles, even which we have, the 1611 King James Version Bible, was actually written around the time of Josephus Justus Scaliger, all right, during that time. So it wouldn't surprise me that even the Bible goes off of the Scaligerian chronology. This is a problem right here, because what they did is everything is based off of this chronology that came from a Jesuit, okay? Yep, places and names were often titles. Yep, exactly. I'm in agreement there. Yep. Ever since I knew about the Egyptian artifacts in the Grand Canyon, I knew something was off. Yeah, this is something else, especially finding artifacts over there. Writings of like Isis, Horus, and Osiris, and all these things, by the way, what probably ended up happening, these artifacts, you see in the 1800s, when they started discovering all these archaeological artifacts, all these Christians became atheists because they saw like how the Egyptian culture was, Sumerian, Babylonians, and all these things that were going on with the Josephus Justus Scaliger. And they started becoming atheists because they were like, well, if this stuff is being talked about way before Jesus and all it is a copycat of him, then what's really going on here? So this created atheism, a lot of atheists. But what actually really ended up happening, since we can't date anything before the 10th century AD based on like a imprecise accuracy of carbon dating with C14 and actually the radiation within the air, or dendrochronology, which we can't even go back 600 to 700 years to actually measure the rate of a tree ring with accuracy, or even coin dating. What ends up happening is, what I believe is that all of this bit about Jesus was true. It's just that they took it into other parts of the world, and they took like a cult of Jesus with them into the other parts of the world, and they knew him by a different name because they had a different language, okay? This was the Tower of Babel event, all right? So in actuality, Everyone talks about how the Tower of Babel occurred before the events of Jesus. I think the Tower of Babel events actually occurred after Jesus. I think the New Testament was actually written before the Old Testament. Old Testament, the oldest manuscript of the Old Testament we have comes from the 10th century AD. Codex Sinaiticus, Alexandrinus, and Vaticanus. So this would only make sense that they mix up the chronology and the timeline within this period. So they took the cult of Jesus with them over into Egypt, which could have been like the Grand Canyon, which they knew him as Horus, Isis, and Osiris, and all these different things that are going on. Because remember, they did this with the Druids. This was with the Dionysus worshippers, Bacchus worshippers. Actually, at Pompeii, we found Dionysus and Bacchus relics. All right? Because the true Pompeii and Herculaneum is actually Sodom and Gomorrah. All right? Yep, all of our people are divided with different dialects. Yep. I believe that. I truly do. I believe Arabic was the language that was actually spoken during the times of the medieval ages, because Arab, okay, here's something fascinating. Europe, for instance, could be Europe, all right? Arabia. Arabia or Arabia actually is the word Rabbi. Rabbi means the language of the master. It's talking about the great teacher or the master. This is the language of the great master. I believe this was the language before the splitting of the Tower of Babel, because in the 1900s, what ended up happening is there was a man that came forward known as Eliezer ben Yehuda, and he used the Arabic dialect to actually create the modern Hebrew, okay? Horus is hour, and min is minutes. Yep. So it's funny you say that. Stop being smart and listen to Jesus' words speak to you. You think Jesus was smart? Do you think Jesus studied? Do you think that the disciples studied? Do you think that learned men in the medieval ages actually knew what was going on? And there's been a decline within the understanding of mankind because we have stuck our head in the sand and we believed in Zionism. Here's the thing. If you stop trying to be smart, you're going to fall into the trap of Zionism. And if you don't know the history about Zionism, you're not going to know who created the modern state of Israel, which was the Rockefellers. All right? So was being smart important? Yes. Gnosis is very important, which is knowledge, because the lack of knowledge is darkness, okay? You have to have knowledge. My people perish for lack of knowledge. Exactly, Missy. Hosea 4:6. Jesus was a very educated, you got it. Jesus was very educated. He educated the people around him. That's awesome to hear, Misty. You've been on a search to connect these dots. Don't forget the Ionians of Crete. They played a big part, too. I'm going to have to look into them. I know that Crete, their diet over there, what they eat, it's very, very healthy. Matter of fact, there was a study done, and out of everyone on the island of Crete, there was only one person with heart disease. Everyone else was healthy. Pompeii as Sodom and Gomorrah makes a lot of sense, actually. You are blowing my mind. What's going on, Roger? How you doing, brother? Hope all's well. Yep. Yeah, Pompeii and Herculaneum being Sodom and Gomorrah. Gomorrah is actually the word Amora, All right, the G is silent. Amora comes from the root of amore. Amore means erotic lover. This is where the Amorites were. Amore, erotic love, actually in Pompeii, like I told you, there were relics that were found of Bacchus and Dionysian worshippers because these were a lot of provocative stuff, a lot of erotic lover stuff that was found over here. But it didn't blow up in 78 or 79 AD either. Mount Vesuvius didn't blow up in 78 or 79 AD. Matter of fact, there's a commemoration plaque of Pompeii and Herculaneum being destroyed in 1631, 20 years after the King James Version Bible. What the heck is going on here? I've seen the Dead Sea Scrolls in 1970 face to face. When you seek me with your whole heart, you'll find me. You know, I don't know if anyone knows what this means, but yesterday, it was a really nice day out. I decided to go out to my community pool. I was hanging out there, and it was really quiet, and I was just praying. And, you know, I'm under the impression that the Muslims and the Cathars had it all right. Matter of fact, the God of Abraham was El. And there's no way of getting around it. The etymology of this word is Allah. All right? And yesterday, when I was in the pool, I said, Father, I said, help me. And if your name is Allah, then reveal this truth unto me and help me reveal it to other people. And let us connect these dots. About 10 minutes after this, I was sitting there in the pool and I looked up in the sky and I saw a white horse in the clouds. I don't know what the heck that means or whatever the case may be. Maybe someone that knows interpretation of like meanings, maybe they can tell me. But that's what I saw. And I think that there's a lot of confusion among our language barriers of what's going on. All right? No, man, I don't think I'm Enoch. Absolutely not, Emmanuel. I do not think I'm Enoch. I was messing with you yesterday, man. Because people like to say that they're Moses or Elijah. It's the story of Oyon, where it comes from. Thank you, Eon. I appreciate that, man. I got a lot of comments to catch up on, you guys. I'll look into the Asherit script. I'll look into that. What I would tell you to look into, Sostin, is the works of Anatoly Fomenko. If he's written over 80 books. He had a team for about 40 years doing discoveries on the mapping system of everything that's going on. Awesome to hear, Roger. Yep, Jesus went to study in Egypt. Yeah, he left for Egypt according to the biblical narrative even. All right, give me a minute, you guys. I got a lot of comments to catch up on. Exactly, very suspicious, like covering tracks of a rewritten history. It's all jumbled. Exactly, it's Excuse my French, but it's a clusterfuck. That's what it is. We got to untangle it. You know what's funny, light of grace? I always wanted to be a history teacher. I've always loved history. I've loved American history. I've loved all of it. Okay? And what ends up happening is, you know, I was going to go to college, become a history teacher. Thank God I didn't. All right? Thank God I didn't become a history teacher. It actually occurred to me about a month and a half ago that, wait a minute, I am a history teacher. I'm teaching people about true history. If I said any of this in the public school systems, I get thrown out automatically. So I'm happy to be here. Seems like they want us to believe that we are closer to the end rather than 500 still out. They used the book of Revelation as a playbook. All right. Okay. Man, we got to talk, my friend, because the God of Abraham is Allah. That's Ashur El. It makes perfect sense. That's what Jesus cried out on the cross. Allah, Allah, lama sabachthani, which would be Allah, Allah, lama sabachthani. Allah, Allah, not Allah. Okay. I don't think Yahweh and Allah are the same in actual reality. Ask Meta AI. No ass but a horse, as he is the source. Okay, so, okay, now that I caught up to most of the comments, you guys, there's a lot of damn comments in here. Hey, Enoch, want to make a cool broship with the other dudes that are awakened? Dude, I'm not Enoch. I was playing yesterday about that because people always like to say who they are, all right? I've looked into whether Jesus was a part of the Essenes or not. Yeah, with the Dead Sea Scrolls, that period of time. This could have actually been the Cathars. So... Okay, so you guys just keep on freaking commenting. I can't get over this. Ivar, Sons of God, historical schoolmaster. They love to read Revelation. My Bible doesn't even have Revelation. Yes, us Assyrians. All right, guys. Assyrians call him Maria, Allah, Maria, Isha. Interesting. Mar means Lord. He ain't Enoch. He's Superman. Appreciate that back. The Assyrian Tree of Life, tracing the origins of Jewish monotheism and Greek philosophy. All right, if I can catch up on these damn comments. What happens when you are on the edge of understanding, but you just can't grasp it? When you're on the edge of something, that means you're about to get a breakthrough. All right? Okay, so, like, what happened to me? what ended up occurring with me about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, I got really sick. It seems like before I'm coming upon a really amazing discovery, I get really sick. And it's because I'm like detoxing all of these untruths to stumble onto something new. And it happens every single time. And it happened to me about 6 to 8 months ago, but it happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I've had a complete revelationary thinking. All right. You're really sick. It's probably because you're detoxing all the lies and you're starting to bring up a new truth. Okay. All right. Here's the thing, Aline. So I don't just use the Bible. I don't just, God first. We can pray for you as it is, if that's something you want us to do. That just doesn't sound right. So what ends up happening is when we look at this, all of these works that we find, all right, we start to realize that history in which we live in is a lie. And if the history in which we live in is a lie, that means there's a complete deception within that. Therefore, we have to be living in a different chronology, all right? Why are you saying Jesus is truth instead of fiction? Because he is true. Jesus is true. He came to give us a new revelation of things. True. Jesus is true. He came to give us a new revelation of things. Now for 2 years, just can't really get the stable understanding. It's tough. It's a lot. Okay. So a couple of weeks ago, I was feeling sick, and I had a complete epiphany and a complete waking with some things. Now, since I understood that our chronology was off, since I understood that these events were in Europe, in the days of the Sephardi Jews, the Spanish Jews, the Cathars, the Muslims, this is when Kabbalah, Zohar, Talmud was created. So what ends up happening is we have to change and switch our view on things. When we do this, it begins to make sense. And the reality of the truth starts to unfold. You see, if you're just believing in the Bible and you're not putting history with it, you're not putting basically basis within archaeology and the study of different religions, and all you're going to believe in is one little piece. It's like having a gun without ammo, all right? And if you have a gun without ammo, the weapon's useless. I mean, you could throw it at someone if you want, but at the end of the day, I mean, there goes your gun. It's over, all right? You have to study other things. I've studied the Sumerian tablets, the Babylonian Epic of Gilgamesh. I've studied the Persian books, the Zendavesta. I've studied Zoroastrianism, multiple other things, Mithraism, Dionysus worship, Bacchus worship, Greek mythology, Roman mythology. And one thing I can tell you, a lot of this stuff was created during the medieval ages, all right? Because what ends up happening is there's two priesthoods, there's two priestly lines, all right? And you have Melchizedek order, Levitical priesthood. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were under the Melchizedek order. Moses and Aaron was Levitical priesthood. Levitical priesthood is actually talking about these people that are in purple robes, They have golden censers. They have all these different things going on. And this is actually a cover-up story for people that lived 2,000 years ago, known as the Pharisees, which is actually a group of people in Paris as well, a religious group. And let's put it this way. These people of this religious order, they come down to us as the Roman Catholic Church. Then you have the Melchizedek order, which is a part of El worship. You have the Cathars and the Muslims who were fighting the Roman Catholic Church, which the Roman Catholic Church's God is Yahweh. And you have Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who lived during the medieval ages, fighting the Roman Catholic Church with their buddies who were Cathars. And if their God's name is El, the Muslims' God is Allah, Cathars believed in El, then I happen to believe that the basis of our foundation, where we sit there and say that Allah is just the moon god, I think that's something that was added on later on. Okay. I think that was something that was really added on. I don't think the Flavians invented Jesus either. I don't think that. Matter of fact, there was a man, and I talked about this earlier. There's actually a man named Andronicus Comnenus. Andronicus Comnenus, and in the works of a man named Nicetus Conianus, he actually talks about this man named Andronicus Comnenus who had a 3-year reign. In 1152 AD, when this man was born, there was a star that came out, crashed into the Crab Nebula constellation. We can actually look this up on software. 33 and a half years later, this man was unalived, and when he was unalived, there was a solar eclipse that came out. All right. Yeah, so the problem is that the black cube isn't in Mecca. Matter of fact, when you see the Tefillin of the Jews is a black cube. The cross with the 6 sides of the cube is the black cube unfolded. As far as the black cube of Mecca, it's not a cube, all right? It's not in the shape of a cube. From an aerial view, it looks like a cube, but it's not a cube, all right? This is the problem here. You're speculating on something without even realizing what it really is, okay? Shout out to L, exactly. Oh, man. I'm going to be on here for a couple of more minutes, but I'm going to get off here shortly. I hope that this was a blessing for you guys today, that this helped you with some things. Ben Syra. Eon, you're talking about some things I don't know of, man. Ben Syra. I don't know who Ben Syra is. The connection to eternity is the ever-present now. Today, while it's called today. Now faith is. Absolutely. I agree. I'm not in disagreement with you there. I would say that when looking at this, Jesus, the son of Sirach, you're talking about in the apocryphal writings. There could definitely be something there. I haven't really dug into it too much. I would have to dig into it a little bit more. But, I mean, you have multiple Jesuses that are running around. I'm glad to hear that, Light of Grace. That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. So guys, if you want to learn more at all, you can go to the YouTube channel. I have videos on there. Sons of God Ministries. If you want to join the Facebook group, it's called Sons of God Ministries Discussion Group. No, actually, I think Esau was Jesus, and Jacob is James. All right. The story about Jacob and Esau is the story about James and Jesus. All right, the twins. Which is why when you look at it in the Gnostic Gospels, and multiple other things, what we begin to see is Jesus had a twin. Okay. If you guys want to join the group, be awesome. St. Thomas was but his name was Thomas Judas Didymus. Okay. Thomas Judas Didymus. Thomas means twin, and Didymus means twin. Okay. Judas was the betrayer, or Judah. Okay. So, anyways, what ends up happening is we got a lot more to get through. I'm not saying I know it all, but I think we're putting pieces together that some people just haven't put together yet, especially the mainstream narrative. I think we just need to work together. We need to keep on looking at these things, study them out, and see that all of it is real. All right? All of this stuff is real, okay? So, one thing I will tell you guys is just keep on studying, keep on digging into things, keep on looking at stuff. I'm going to go ahead and jump up off here. If you guys want to join the YouTube channel, please do. If you want to join the Facebook group, please do. Also have a Patreon channel where we actually talk about this stuff on live sessions on Saturdays and getting a little bit more in depth. Gotta cover it up a little bit more here. But these go into about 2-3 hour live sessions where we talk about things. If you guys join, you will have access to, I think, like 24 or 25 videos. That's like 60 hours worth of content as it is. If you join the elite subscription group, as it is. If that's something you guys want to do. I also release videos as well. I did a video yesterday called the Delusion Within the Matrix. And it's showing how the Pope is actually the first one that published and clarified the publishing of the Talmud. So that's kind of fascinating. Anyways, I'm going to jump up off here, you guys, and we'll talk here soon. I pray that this was a blessing. I pray that this helped you. And about 2.5 hours each. Yeah, 2.5 hours. Yeah, Missy has actually helped me put them all together. She puts them all up on the YouTube playlist with people that have access to it. We've gotten into a lot of good stuff. And for the past couple of them, I've been bringing some charts up and different things to pull it all together. All right, Josh, I'm glad you are no longer preterist. I can't go back to being a preterist. I can't go back to it. I'm done with it, as it is. I see it as Isaac is Saturn, and Jacob is Jupiter, and Israel is the conjunction of them. Yeah. Yep. All right. 60 hours of content. Awesome. Okay. Great. Okay, guys, I'm going to jump up off here. I pray that you guys have yourself a blessed day. I want to get in contact with you, Sostin, and a couple of us need to work together to really solve this and look over this, you guys. We're being lied to. I can tell you that much. We got to figure this out, like as a puzzle, putting it all together. I don't think we're living 2,000 years out from Jesus. I think we're living about 1,000 years out. And we're just going to go from there. So blessings. I love you guys, and you have yourself a lovely day. In Jesus' mighty name. Talk to you guys soon.